Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now I decided to use this ginkgo biloba tree as my backdrop for this video. I'm not going to be talking about ginkgo biloba though. This tree is an awesome tree, so that's just about as much as I'm going to say about it, other than the fact that it helps you with your brain power. Okay, it helps you to think better and more clear. It actually helps you mentally. Okay, what I wanted to talk about is the fact that we are living in a world that has become increasingly wicked. That's the best word that I can use to describe, although there's something beyond wicked that I also believe would describe this world. Okay, many of you know by now that Bill and Melinda Gates, they have called it Splitsville. But before I get into that, I wanted to shed a light on something really quick. I wanted to shed the light on the fact that we are surrounded in this world with news and information and clips about this, statements about that, conspiracy theories, and just so many different things. We are surrounded by these things. And many times we allow it to enter into our minds and stay there. Much of this stuff that happens in the news, it takes up residence in our minds, right? To the point where nothing good could fit in because so much wickedness, evil, distractions, and just all kinds of things are taking up residence in your mind. And so that's why this is a good backdrop for this video. It frees and clears your mind. Anyway, when I first received the story from one of my viewers, I thought that something was very fishy about this whole thing. And many of you, just from the comments, I can tell that you think the same thing. Something's very fishy and strange about the fact that these two are getting divorced. Didn't they just buy tons of land here in the U.S.? To where now they are the biggest or the largest landowner in the country. They own more farmland than anyone else in the country. That's such a large move to make when you were already... See, people don't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I don't want to be married anymore. It's a buildup, okay? It's a build-up, and you kind of slowly go into that, right? So when I look at this global pandemic, and I also look at the fact that these two have played a major role in everything that we see happening today, I also look at the fact that these two own all of this land. They've gone all over the planet doing quote-unquote good works, trying to save the planet, as they've made many believe. Save humans, should I say, and just so many other things, right? Now all of a sudden they want to announce through Twitter. That's very strange. You tweet that you and your wife, that's been married for 27 years, are getting a divorce. You tweet that you and your wife, who are not just any public figure, but you are major public figures and have been for a long time, but so majorly here recently that a lot of people are kind of looking at you all in a way that they don't know what to think because the whole world was just shut down. And there was a lot of information coming from that direction. So it's no small potatoes that the whole world was shut down. The whole planet shut down. Now, two of the people who had a lot to say about this, who had a very strong voice in all of this, they are calling it Splitsville. And so what I wanted to say is to the sleepers. There are sleepers who literally waste their time on foolishness and nonsense, to where so much news comes across the feed to where you're like, okay, what do we need to be focusing on right now? And so there are a lot of different things that many of us say that we should focus on, which is, something that you expect. Not all people are going to cover the same things, right? But one of my main things is fortify your life, right? Because there have been some things set in motion by the movers and the shakers. And if you don't fortify your life, if you don't get yourself together, you're going to find yourself right smack dab in the middle of some strange circumstances, right? And so when I think about the sleepers, here are the things that the sleepers are involved in. Someone shared a video with me earlier today. Now, I don't know when the incident took place, but the incident is so far away from the news of Bill and Melinda Gates that it makes you think, what planet are people living on? Do you see all of the realness and the seriousness of what's happening in the world? But anyway, let me tell you what the video was about. Like I said, it's so far away from the Bill and Melinda Gates split. But you say to yourself, why do we keep seeing this foolishness? It was a brawl at a restaurant. We're talking people banging folk in the back with chairs, folk kicking folk in the face, punches being thrown, bodies just all over the place, all over the ground, rumbling and tumbling, black faces. And then as I'm looking at the video, I forget who sent me the video, okay? And some videos I just don't cover. And the reason why I'm talking about it now, because I'm trying to show you what different worlds people are living in. All hell is breaking loose and you got people brawling at a restaurant over something stupid, okay? But anyway, as this brawl is happening, I'm looking at individuals in the video. And I'm like, what the heck is she doing? This big fight is going on. And you just prancing around like you don't know what the heck's going on. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what the heck is he doing? Why are you there? And I'm talking about people who are not even involved in the fight. And so you just see them just moseying about like they don't know what the heck's going on in the world. Okay? And so when you hear news like that, or you see news like that, and then you hear that Bill and Melinda Gates, the movers and the shakers, the people who are part of the top 1% on the planet, not just in the country, but on the planet, people who are directly connected to this global pandemic. Well, you hear that they're getting divorced after they just bought up all of this land, after they just shook the world's foundation with this whole thing. And I'm not saying that they are completely directly involved by themselves, because there are a lot of players in this whole thing, okay? But they are a major part of that. No one can deny that. But when you see this kind of news come across, and then you see news of people still brawling, and then in the video, the brawling video, the guy with the camera says, so can I still order a hamburger? And I said to myself, Nignogatry, right? So many things are happening in the world, and people, because their minds are too clouded, they need to free their minds, y'all. Because their minds are so clouded, they can't even understand the severity of what the whole world is facing. And so they get caught up in this nignogatry and all of this other stuff, to where they can't settle things, simple things, without someone brawling. Another person made a point in the video. They said that they were like, let them two fight, before they got involved in it. They were like, just let them two do it or whatever, right? And they ended up getting into the fight too, because someone actually threw the first punch at them. Maybe they were frustrated because they were saying, let them two fight. So turns out the whole crowd starts fighting, except for the little filler people who are just moving about through the smoke of the fight, right? And, you say to yourself, at what point do we draw the line and say, I'm not going to be a part of this? At what point do the people who are in the building say, I'm going to remove myself instead of staying in the midst of it and trying to gain stardom through a world star hip hop video? I'm trying to figure out, why are you there? Why? Everything, the handwriting is on the wall that everything in and around this world has changed. And we can't take care of simple things. We can't deal with each other in a way to where we don't end up fighting like that. And so my thing is this: to those of you who watch this channel, you pretty much know, especially if you've been watching for some years, maybe not some of the newer subscribers, but those of you who have been watching for years, you know what we think. We think that it's time for folk to get their house in order, okay? On a worldwide scale, it's time for people to get their house in order and stop messing around with this game that we call life, okay? Some people treat it just like that, just like a game. They don't take it seriously at all. And this is why, like a snare, the Bible says, like a snare, calamity is going to come upon a lot of people. They are not going to know what hit them because they are not preparing for anything. They're not thinking about anything. They are not looking at the handwriting on the wall. It is time to look at the handwriting on the wall and stop allowing yourself to be pulled in all of these different battles that have nothing to do with anything. You see, when we are out and about, first of all, whenever there's a crowd of people in a place such as that, maybe you should remove yourself, because I remember somebody years ago said this: whenever you get a bunch of so-called black people together, some stuff is going to jump off. And it's a shame. It is a shame that that has become true on so many levels. I remember how it was living in the city of Detroit. And I'm talking a long time ago, when I was a teenager on up. It was always some stuff jumping off. I told y'all when I was young, my husband's calling me, so I'm going to have to go ahead and wrap this up. But when I was young, very young, I'm thinking I'm probably about 6 or 7 years old, but we were living at my grandmother's house at the time on the east side of Detroit. And her house used to stay packed with people from the hood, family and people from the hood. There used to be so many people in the house drinking, smoking, and all kinds of stuff. My mom used to be at work, and so we stayed there with my grandmother. We actually lived there. But the stuff used to be so tripped out. Fights would break out. People are drinking, smoking, getting high, cussing, all kinds of stuff going on. And us kids, we would literally have to run from room to room to escape the fight. It was like a pillar of smoke just going from room to room. I remember we all tucked ourselves in a corner in a very small den in the front of my grandmother's house. And we thought sure that the fight wasn't going to find us in that little room. But all of a sudden we hear the rumble getting closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And the rumble was right there at the door. And we said to ourselves, of course, at the time we were afraid. We were scared. We didn't know what was going to happen, if they even saw us or were paying attention to us. Thankfully, my mother got us the heck out of there as soon as she could afford to do so. But the fact that these kinds of things happen, not just at my grandmother's house, but at so many black households, so many. And a lot of young people grow up in that environment and they never escape it. And so their lives reflect the environment, you see. And so our focus is on survival at that point. And so when we see stuff happening in the world, major things happening, we can't focus on the major things because our lives are so flooded with foolishness and nonsense to where that stuff is kind of small in our eyes. Anyway, I'm done with this video. I didn't want to be out here this long talking about this stuff, but it's time to wake up. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.